Greetings, class. Certainly good to be with you today, and I trust you have been enjoying the course. It is now week 2, and I certainly enjoyed getting to know some of you. It is limited as it might be through the introduction, but yet it is good to get to know a little bit more about you, certainly your interesting backgrounds and different perspectives you have in life. It adds to the class, and every one of you are important. Well, I want to prepare you for the next week of class. We have a good week ahead of us, really some key issues that are covered in this class. And first thing I want to bring out is about the crisis in the community that John was facing. There was a church split. There was deception. There was a strong, very magnetic leader that had come in there. There was false teachings. There was legalism. And then we see John defending the truth. And I must say about John is probably alongside of Paul, one of the two greatest theological thinkers in the early church. When you look at his writings along with Paul, we find so much doctrinal material, so much of our foundation is found in their writings. So John is certainly an integral part of the early church and the church today because of his writings and his teachings. But then with all the falsehood that has crept into the church, into the community there, John comes in and defends the truth, and he fights for his people. He fights for the flock. And as I look at this and as we review this material, isn't this so relevant for us today? I mean, we see these same type of things happening right now. And what this does, not only does it give us a historical view of the early church and help us to learn more about biblical truths, it also gives us the ability and equips us to come against these evils in our days and these manipulative people, the false doctrines, and the like. So we see all of this happening, and it is such a means of help for us in ministry today to enable our local churches to come against these things. We also see in 1 John the centrality of love. And truly, this is not just something simplistic, but it's the basis of the ministry of Christ. It's what the church is to be about. It's about love. And so I want to encourage us to take root in these things. Now, you have some assignments this week. You have 2 threaded discussions. The first one is about the worsening tension there in the community. And certainly, as I've already alluded to, there were problems, there was tension in the church. And I don't know if you've ever visited a church that was undergoing an upheaval or disruption, or there were factions in the church. But no one has to put up a sign that says we're fighting right now or we're troubled. A person can sense this if they are, even sinners can sense this when they come into a congregation and they can tell that the church people are at odds. And in my ministry, I traveled a good bit in doing state administrative work and visited many churches. And I've learned that every church has a personality. In churches I visited, churches I pastored, that they have personalities. And you can tell kind of what that church is like if you're around for just a little while. Sometimes you can tell right off the bat. But this church definitely was going through tension. And as you look at this, you see the division that is taking place in that church. And so write about this, share about this, and look at your instructions. It will help you to walk you through this and being able to submit this properly. The other threaded discussion is about early Gnosticism. Now, this is something that may seem outdated to some people, but again, this is something that is extremely relevant in our day today when we think about it. One of the things is, how does it relate to our day? How do we see this coming into the church today, into Christian groups today? How does this happen? Well, this is a chance for you to be able to share. But in the early church, Gnosticism had come in, and with the idea, very simplistically, that sin is okay. because I'm saved, my spirit is saved, so it doesn't matter what I do in my flesh. And we see that same type of attitude takes place in some Christian organizations today, that once I've confessed Jesus, I can do whatever I want and I'm going to go to heaven. Well, I think we find in Scripture that's not true. So how has Gnosticism, it's not going to be under that name. You won't see the first church of the Gnostics in any of your travels around the world. You won't see this, and you look in a church directory, if you Google it, you won't find it. But how has Gnosticism crept into our day today? Something for us to look at and something for you to be able to share. I believe it'll be beneficial for you. There'll also be an exam, so be sure to use the Word document. There is a study guide there, this will help you with your exam. Be sure to look at that. Also, there will be the second step in your research paper. You're to get 5 to 8 resources, quality resources, and be able to list those, submit that in a document, as it helps prepare you along the way. Rather than you have to do all of this at the end, by breaking this up into sections, it helps take the load off of you and helps to equip you for your paper in the future that is due the last week. So follow the guidelines again for the resources and getting those together. Follow the instructions and you'll do fine. I'm enjoying this time we have together, and I trust that you'll receive from this week as we look at the works of John.